Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Money Stop. We got a late night episode coming your way. A lot to talk about tonight. Um, Feels kind of weird doing this episode a little later than normal, but it feels nice that at least we're doing an episode. It's been a little bit since we've been back in studio. Feels good to be back though, Lander, right?
Yeah, it feels really good. I'm glad we were able to get this worked out.
Yeah, me too. Um, I we've got a lot to cover tonight, and we didn't do an episode after the Disney race, so there's going to be a lot to discuss. But I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, some more people can tune in. Um, since the episode is a little later tonight, I'm hoping at least we'll have a couple more tune in. But yeah, all right, let's get right on with it. So uh, we'll recap the Disney races first, the truck race and the cup race. I was not in those races. I was away for the weekend, but Laner, talk to me a little bit more about how the race was from your perspective and what you thought of the track. And was it a good addition to the schedule?
Uh, yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. I wasn't at the truck race, so I don't know what to say about that. But the cup race, it was really amazing, and I really hope that it comes back next season. Um, every turn was kind of unique. You couldn't take turns 1 and 2 wide open, but turn three, you could take that one wide open. So it was kind of a very unique track. And I thought we saw really good racing. It was one of the better races of the season. So yeah, I was really impressed, and I'm looking forward to hopefully going back there next season.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it online. I watched the race, and I would say like it was very interesting to just see like how different the turns were, and I think it was a very unique race. And I hope that that track returns next season. I would definitely want to see that track return. It's a little different from the tracks that we go to normally because just of the uniqueness and the turns and every part of that track is a little different. And with the track being widened out as well, I feel like that made a difference. A whole lot of a difference in the racing and just the stuff that we saw during the race. Congrats to Land as well for winning that race. He was my pick, so I'm gonna go out and say that right away that my pick won the race. So I'm patting myself on the back a little bit, but no, he did a great job, and collecting another victory was definitely a big boost for the team, and just collecting more points. They're definitely, as we get closer to the playoffs, becoming more and more of a championship threat again. Again, I will remind our viewers that once we started this season, those first couple stretch that first stretch couple of races there, it was definitely very tough for that team, and just um, it was just very disappointing finishes, and he could have had a, a lot more wins than he has now. Definitely a few chances to win, and some of them were taken from him earlier in the season. But uh, yeah, congrats to Land again. Definitely a big victory there for that team. I don't remember the finishers too well, if I'll be honest. All I remember was that Land won the race, but
Whoa.
um,
Uh, Also, shout out to Lego because Lego dang near won that race. Land actually had to go up there and kind of bump him out of the groove a little bit to get that one. So Lego's really been showing speed here lately. Um, Ever since Kansas, really, Lego's team has been showing a lot of speed. Um, I think Lego finished second. If I don't, if I remember correctly, I finished fifth. Somehow I kept the top five streak going. Um, we got taken out with like 10 to go, and fell back to fifth. And Jax was up there quite a bit too. Jax was up there leading laps. So um, I would guess that Jack's probably got a top 5. Lego, I know he finished second. So yeah, those were, I would say, Land, Lego, myself, Jax, and Wendigo were definitely the front runners all day.
Would you say that this race was one of the fewer races in the season where like nobody left frustrated at each other? Um,
Uh, no, I don't agree with that because I was really pissed off after the race.
okay.
I mean,
I wasn't sure. I was just trying to
I
feel out the vibe.
no, I'm not trying to bring up old stuff that's already happened because I don't want to cause issues. But I mean, I got taken out with 10 to go. I was running second, trying to take the lead from Lego, and I really feel like I could have won that race. So, yeah, I was not very happy personally. But other than that, I don't know. Maybe other people. I mean, I didn't see frustrations from like an officiating perspective or like anything like that. I mean, other than my incident, I don't really know that anything too crazy happened.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because, I mean, every week now, there's always something between two drivers, or somebody's always mad at each other, or somebody's always mad at one another. I mean, so it's really hard to just kind of like have one or two races here and there that like nobody's mad at each other. So I was
Yeah,
trying to see maybe how the race was just for you guys after, because obviously after time is done with commentary, you know uh, um we don't see what really happens that much after the race goes. So um we see the car pull into victory lane, we get a few interviews, and then it stops. So um I think it kind of discredits, or it doesn't really show the true frustrations past or post race. But um yeah, it definitely sucks to hear. I mean, I know that it was a new race too, and it was a new track, so it definitely was going to present some kind of unknowns in terms of just how people were going to race each other, and just the fact that we've never had any past races here. I think it was definitely bound to be like that, unfortunately, but um, hopefully next season it's not as bad. Um, but I mean, we'll have to see if it ends up on the schedule as well, because there's a lot of options I think to throw in there. And
yeah, I agree.
yeah, I don't. My only thing with the schedule next season is, and I think I'll be putting this together before I step down, just like timing wise, I'll be helping putting this together. But I think like just schedule wise, I think there might need to be some repeat tracks, but I'd like to see um a overhaul of the regular season. Like I'd like to see a completely different lineup with the regular season. I think select tracks should stay and must stay, but I think like some tracks that we've been to this season definitely can go bye bye next season. I'm willing to try Pocono with this update. I'm willing to try Gateway. There's a couple tracks that I would like to try that we haven't been to. Maybe Auto Club um, would be interesting as well. I'm not really sure though, you know, what this new update will bring with all of those tracks, but I'm definitely interested to try it in the regular season. Um, I know some of them, some tracks we haven't been to yet that are playoff tracks, but um, I will definitely say like, you know, if we move them to the regular season, I feel like they would be maybe more entertaining, and you know might throw in some shockers in the playoffs maybe as well.
Yeah, and I think I know there's been some internal discussions about maybe shortening the schedule a little bit. So it was even hard this season with a long season to get all the tracks in.
Mhm.
Like we still weren't able to find room for Auto Club or Michigan, or I mean I'm sure I'm missing a few tracks, but like there are still very deserving tracks that did not make the cut. So if you shorten the schedule even more, you're going to have to be very particular about what tracks you put in. So uh, yeah, I mean, who knows if it comes back or not?
Yeah, and I would rather get away from the rhetoric too of like going to Daytona and then doing like a West Coast swing like they do in real life. Like I don't like that, to be honest, because it's not like we're traveling to the West Coast, you know? Like these are just tracks that we spawn in. So I feel like we could go anywhere any week. Um so I feel like we could definitely throw in some tracks um that people aren't used to seeing on the schedule. Um I definitely want to see uh another road course on there. Like I personally liked Watkins Glen, so I think I would want to see Watkins Glen back on the schedule. I know that we're getting off track, but you know, I just think like going back to what we said, I think if Walt Disney was a track that deserves to have a date next season, it should probably either go maybe in the first round or stay in the regular season as a regular season race. But I don't know if people enjoyed it that much, like if they were frustrated with the racing, that it should come back because there could be better options and better tracks to go to than that, if that makes sense. But um, I don't know. I think we can save that for another episode when we have more of an idea of schedule talks and rumors that we're hearing. Um, I I will say because this is probably not going to be a shocker to most, but I think it's safe to say that there's going to be a little bit of a shorter season next season. Um, and how that affects what tracks we go to, I'm not sure. But um, yeah, I think we can save schedule talks for either when the schedule comes out or um, just when we know more, I guess, or when we want to talk about more. Um, let's talk about the past race this past weekend, um, the Rocar 500, which was the throwback race for this season. You may notice the trophy in the middle of us too. That is because I won the race this past weekend. Anybody that knows kind of our little thing here is that whenever one of us wins the race, we'll put the trophy in studio and display it at least for the episode. So that trophy is on display tonight. Honestly, I I think it was a very good race in terms of like just the racing itself. The thing that sucked was that it was just one lane, and
Yeah,
I predicted in private that it was going to be one lane because just it doesn't matter what you could do to this track. I think it's always going to be one lane. At least this version. Um, and I'm not sure what it would take to make that second lane work, but I know something that I noticed was that if there was more cars lined up in the second lane, if you like look at it from this way and imagine it in your head. If you had 3 cars on the inside lane and 4 cars on the outside lane, there's no way that the inside lane will hold up. So I don't know if it's something about just the amount of cars that are in the lead pack, whether it's just which line controls the speed. Because if there's 4 cars on the outside and 3 cars on the inside, that line of 4 cars is going to have more speed. So I think that was interesting too because some people were definitely trying that. They were moving up, trying to make up positions, trying to take the lead. And it worked sometimes, but most of the time only 1 or 2 cars was able to pass at most the bottom lane,
yeah,
those cars on the bottom lane. So I think just, it was an entertaining race just from the racing itself, but it just sucked that it was one lane again. Um, I will say though that it was fun to the part of, we didn't know what was going to happen in that final stage because we knew a pit stop was coming. Nobody was going to crash. So, we knew a pit stop was coming. Um, but everybody was kind of on edge because we didn't know what lap it was coming at. And uh, like all throughout the race, I don't really think there was a need to pit. You could make it to the end of the stage, just barely, without having to pit. Um, but I definitely think that last stage was a little more entertaining, just because kind of pit strategy would have spread things out, and had that caution not come out late in the race, then it would have definitely been a very interesting finish. I think probably between me and you, and
Yeah,
I don't know. I think
yeah.
Kragus was with us as well, but
He
um,
was, but he took 2 tires, so I feel like he would have fell off, or he would have had to pit again at least.
yeah. Another thing is too, I feel like just us two, we definitely made the right call with the lap that we came in. That was like perfect timing on our end. Because I remember discussing with you that we were going to come in on lap, what, 65 or whatever, something like that, and you know it was like lap 61 or 2. I was like, I could not control the car. It was very, very uh, tight, and the tires were wearing fast, and we were going extremely fast, like with the speeds in the draft. So um, I think that we definitely pitted at the right time. It just sucked when the caution came out because we couldn't do anything about it. Because that race would have came down to just us two, I think. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
but yeah, what was your thoughts about the race? Did you enjoy it?
Uh, yeah, I'm a little bit upset like you that it was just one lane, and honestly, it seems like it was more extreme this season than it's been in years past. Um, like thinking back to OG Rocar, I feel like the pack was just so like formed, and it was so to get like, you know what I mean? Like it was just everybody was right there on top of each other. Um, and I don't know, like I feel like it's never really been that way. Like you've always kind of been able to, I don't know, like make stuff happen a little bit, but if you weren't on that bottom line, you were in trouble. And really, the only way to make passes was to stay in the bottom and just wait for somebody to slip up and get out of line, and then you would move up. Um,
Yeah,
and I was really optimistic about it because the truck race was an amazing race. We saw double wide passing, all sorts of crazy stuff. That was by far the best truck race of the season. And then you go out there with the cup cars, and it's just the complete opposite. Um, Although at the end, they did try to form a second lane, and they were charging pretty quick. I think they might have got to you um, had I not went over and blocked that run. But I'm not sure. That would have been interesting because they were coming pretty quick. If you watch
yeah,
the replay, they were about side by side with you. But you just had to time those runs perfectly because they weren't going to last very long. Um,
yeah,
so I don't know. I mean, like it's kind of what you expect from this version of Talladega. So if you go into it expecting that, then I mean, I think it was a good race if that's what you're expecting. I mean, I think it was. I mean, it was okay. Yeah.
I have to ask too because this was a conversation after the race. What happened from your perspective between you and Wendigo coming to the line? I know that he was upset that you kind of pushed him up the track coming to the line, um, but he had a run, I believe, and he was trying to come to the outside. He was trying to make his way up the outside lane, and I guess he was a little frustrated that you pushed him up the track. But what happened from your point of view, um, and I don't know if you want to talk about that for a minute, Laner. I don't know. Can you hear me? We might have lost Laner. Um, I'm not sure if he's here, but we might have just lost him. Um,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, I can. Did you hear what
Okay.
I said?
Okay. Yeah. I heard you.
Okay. All right.
So I don't want to like start anything or start drama or anything like that. But what I will say is I really don't see anything wrong with what I did at all. I really don't. He had a run coming. Him and I think it was him and Jax. They were pushing on the outside. I got out of line and I I didn't even take him out or anything. I didn't push him into the wall. Nothing. His car did not touch the wall at all. All I did was move him up a little bit to block his run. Um, which I feel like anybody would have done the same thing if they were in a situation like I was, and their teammate was about to win the race. I mean, I would hope they would. That's just you're just being a good teammate. I don't want to bring real life examples into Roblox, but look at what Michael McDowell did earlier in the year at Talladega. Dude literally went down 4 lanes to block the racetrack. You're telling me I can't move up a lane and block this dude's run?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. I get that he's upset, but at the same time, he took me out with 10 to go at Disney last week. Like, I don't know what to say, dude. You
Yeah.
took me out for a race win, and honestly, you should be happy that that's all I did to you because I did not put you in the wall. You still finished third in the race. Like, you still got a top 5 out of the day. Um, I didn't take you out. You didn't finish last. Like, I didn't junk your car up.
Right.
All I did was move you up the racetrack a little bit. So I don't know. It is what it is. I don't see anything wrong with what I did, and I think anybody would have done the same thing if they were in that situation as well.
And I think too, it's just the nature of, you know, everybody knows that's the final lap of the race. Everybody knows that the entire race has been one lane, and you're coming to the front stretch. You're coming to the trioval, and you know this is your last chance to make up spots and potentially win the race. So I understand his side of things, but I wish he would understand too that, like, you know, it's just the nature of a race finish. You know what I mean? Like, things are gonna happen. Um, and like you
Yeah,
said,
it's
it's not like you put him in the wall. It's on camera. You didn't put him in the wall, and you didn't wreck him. You know, um, but you were, as a team owner, I guess, thinking through that, trying to protect the win in a way, but also at the same time, you know, trying um to not cause a wreck or anything.
yeah, and I mean like I could understand if I do that on like lap 5. Okay, like I get it. You could be upset. But the last lap of the biggest race in the league, I mean, it's all bets off. I mean, just look at what happened in season 1. People are willing to do desperate things to win this race, no matter what. This has always been the biggest race of road car in general. So
Yeah.
people are going to do whatever it takes to win this race, and I mean, crazy stuff's going to happen on the last lap of the road car 500. I know Wendigo has not been around long enough to really understand the prestige of this race, but it's a big deal. Like this race means a lot, and people are going to do desperate things on the last lap. I don't really even consider what I did desperate, but I mean, crazy stuff's gonna happen. I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Right. Um yeah, and that's why I'm kind of glad I won the race now, because I feel like I was so down on myself for never winning that race. Like, I mean, I'd be happy with not winning that race. Like, I'd be fine. But it's always one more thing that, you know, you can check off on your career. And I feel like for me, I truly have no boxes left to mark off now. Like, that was like one that, you know, I knew that I only had one chance this past weekend to do it. But if not, it wasn't a big deal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, now that I've won the race, there really isn't anything left to check. Um, but I wanna take a second and talk about the team, because the team did a really good job. And just, you know, to have 3 wins this season, um, and I haven't really, like, my attendance has been off and on the past couple weeks. To have 3 wins this season has been pretty incredible, and I'm not even sure how we won Talladega, to be honest, because I was confident coming to the last restart that um, that we'd be in a good position. But man, I thought like down the backstretch, I was cooked. I thought honestly I was done for. I thought GFM would maybe try and create a second lane. Somebody would go up there and try and help them. And, there's a lot of thoughts that run through your head in those final laps like that. Just how to time blocks and to predict what's going to happen. But at tracks like these, unfortunately, you can never predict what's going to happen. And I didn't predict that things would stay single file until people got to the dry line.
Yeah.
Like I really didn't predict that. Um,
Al- Although, if you do watch the replay, Lego and a few others were trying to start a second lane on the backstretch. It just really wasn't working out for them. I mean, yeah, it really was an anticlimactic finish. Like everybody just kind of stayed in line. And no offense to Aiden, but I was not feeling comfortable with him on my back bumper on that restart. I was like, man, Aiden just pushes so hard. Like he's always been that way. He gives really good pushes, but I was really scared. I thought he was just gonna hit me in the wrong spot, and we were just both gonna wreck. So I can props to him for not wrecking either of us and giving good pushes. I mean, kept it straight. So props to him for that.
Yeah. A lot of people kept it straight, surprisingly. Another thing I was going to mention, there was no big one this race. Usually, every time we go to Talladega, there's always a big one. We didn't have one at all. And
Mm-mm.
uh, man, I was kind of disappointed. I was kind of disappointed that we didn't have a big one because that would have like completed the race. I felt like, but that was like the one thing we were missing. Um, but I mean, we left the track with not really any wrecked race cars. So, um, yeah, there was that. But I know that, Lego and a couple others tried forming a second lane coming to the finish. But I feel like it was more so just like everybody needed to work together to make the second lane and to try and make passes. I feel like they worked more on the front stretch out of anything, just because the slant with the tri-oval. Um, but I mean, it sucks that either way the second lane didn't work. It is what it is, obviously, but hopefully we can. Isn't there another version of Talladega?
Yeah, there is. I think just with it being the Road Car 500 and the throwback race and everything, it just made sense to go to the old one. But
Right.
we
I would
did
love.
run the season 2 Road Car 500 on the new version, though. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I
Uh,
remember it very well because that
yeah,
race
that
was
was
a
when CD won the race. It was on 4th of July weekend, a long time ago.
yeah, that was a long time ago. Oh my.
Yeah.
Um oh man. I remember from that race. Do you remember what was that one guy's name? Um he ran in a black uh red and blue car, and I think his name was like Holland or something, or Hollow. Um he was so mad that he finished second in that race. And like after that, I don't think I remember seeing him at all the rest of the season.
Right.
I don't know what it was, but I don't think bro was happy with finishing second, and I wouldn't either, but he didn't show up at all the rest of the time. Um I think if you I think it's on the YouTube channel. If you go up, I think the race is split up into two parts because I think the stream got cut like halfway through or whatever. If you go and watch it, you can see for yourself. But I think he finished second. I think. Um, but yeah, that just stuck out to me like very clearly. Um, yeah, that I just wanted to mention that. But that new version I did not like. I think it was because of the cars. The cars and that version did not mix well. Um, I'm not.
Although we did use that new version for last season's Talladega race. I won last season with the tire. I don't know if you were at that race. With the tires blowing out and everything.
I don't think I was.
Yeah, that we actually had two lanes going. I think I'm pretty sure. Maybe I don't know, but I think honestly, maybe next season we should think about moving to the new one.
I think it would be food for thought, honestly. I think it's a conversation to have. I mean, yes, obviously the original is always the best, but I feel like for evolution and expansion and giving other people chances in the race, I feel like would benefit everybody. Um, and yeah, it is a throwback race, so it kind of just like defeats the purpose when it comes to the version of the track. But um, I think it's just the idea of having the throwback race that counts the most, you know. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm interested to see. I don't know. I know that you kind of like ran this the race this past weekend. Um, for you, as somebody who's been here from the very beginning, what was it like for you to bring this race back and to showcase it to everybody who maybe wasn't around when we had this race at the beginning of the season?
I'll be honest. The Road Car 500 is like my baby. I love that race. It like it it really like it
It's your baby,
it
huh?
really like it encapsulates everything that Rokar is. Like it really is like the perfect event for the whole league. Like I don't know. It really is special to me, and I see both of us like it's always really meant a lot to us. So it was definitely really special to bring that back, and I know that it means a lot to the guys that have been around for a while, like you and Land and Craigus, people like that, Lego. I'm sure I'm missing a few people. Like I don't know, we really don't have that many people around anymore. Um,
Yeah.
but like it really does mean a lot. So I'm hoping it can stick around because it really is a big deal and it's a big event. So um, yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. It's always a really fun event to put on, and everybody seems to enjoy it. So I'm hoping it sticks around for a while.
I think what made it more special too was that this because originally when we had put the schedule together, this wasn't slated to be the Rocar 500. You know, this was just scheduled to be the throwback race of the season. So when you had brought up the idea, you and Icy had brought up the idea of having the throwback race be the Rocar 500. I think it was a really nice touch to throw in there. So I hope it sticks around next season. Um, that would be very, very nice to see. Um,
Yeah, and it might be cool to like do something maybe where the RoMuscle 500 and the Rocar 500 rotate. You know, like maybe the Rocar 500's the season opener one season, then you know what I mean.
yeah.
I mean, it might be cool to do something like that too.
I wonder what people would think about that, about doing something like that.
I think it would be. I mean, personally, I think it would be cool to switch from Talladega to Daytona every season, but I don't know.
Hmm. I don't know. I mean, if the cars are changing, like if they're still going to be changing, I'm not sure if I would want to keep changing tracks. I feel like when they're set in stone and like we know for sure that there's going to be no changes to the car, um, it might be a good idea to maybe start switching. But I would think either pick Daytona or Talladega for next season. I would think Daytona's a lock. I'm not sure because you know I I'm not really sure what the schedule looks like next season. I'm not kind of like at the head of that table. Um,
Yeah.
I'm just helping put things together. But I would hope that Daytona stays as the season opener. But if it's not, then maybe long term, if there's no car changes, I wouldn't be opposed to doing Talladega or having another race in there. But Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, they're both crown jewel races, so it really doesn't matter where they fall at on the schedule. And it's kind of nice to, I think it might was kind of getting off topic, but it might be nice to even have one of them as a playoff race,
yeah,
just to kind of add, have a crown jewel in the playoffs. But yeah, it's definitely nice to have two crown jewel events like that in the season.
yeah. I agree. Um, all right. I just realized we are we are 35 minutes into this episode. We're still on the we're still talking about the recap. Um, let's wrap things up because obviously I won the race, but this I feel like for me this race meant a lot more to me than maybe most races I've won in my career. And I said in my post race interview that this might take the cake for any race that I won. It's just very very special to have been able to finally win the race. It's not, yeah, it's not the season opener. It's not the race that we've been waiting for in the off season. It is the throwback race. We're almost to the playoffs, but it means just as much to win the race. And I hope it sticks around next season, and it means just as much when we come back to Talladega next season. But um, yeah, I mean, I at least me personally, I would want to see the track change. Like I would want to go to the new version just to give more of an equal chance for people to make passes and for there to be a second lane. Especially too, I feel like if there's going to be a lot more drivers next season, if there will be newcomers, that's going to add to the amount of cars that are on track. And you'll have to think about a second lane either way. So I think that'll be interesting to see what the decision will be there when it comes to schedule time. But yeah, I'm very, very proud of my team and just very happy for SSR and collecting another win and putting another car in the shop on display for people to see. Um, yeah, and I've won. I've won both crown jewel, well, both super speedway races now this season, but um, I would think I've won both crown jewel races so far, right?
Yeah, you have. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think the next one we have coming up is Charlotte. So
Charlotte. Yeah,
yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I'm looking
you're
forward
gonna
to
have
that
to go
race.
for the sweep.
That would be nice. Charlotte is one of my favorite tracks. So, and I've dominated there in the All Star races and stuff. So, um, I don't know. We'll have to see. It's a different version from what I've heard. So, yeah. But alrighty, let's move on. Um, so we've kind of got some more news to talk about outside of the racetrack. So we're having some movements. We'll talk about some silly season. Cragis is going back to GFM um, next season, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this. It's been a couple weeks now since he announced that move. Yes, it's kind of old news at this point, but we never covered it on the podcast, so we want to get a chance to cover it. I know that this whole situation was very confusing from the start, and for us to sit here and say that it makes sense would be a lie. Because I
Yeah,
honestly have no idea what's going on between Cragis and the organization. But what I can say for sure is that Cragis is going back. He is, I guess, going back to maybe his old car, but from our understanding, um, he will be staying. Um, he will be using a different number that we don't know, but we do know that Rocky Top is closing at the end of the season, and all of their assets are going to GFM, whatever that means. But um, we don't know what number he will run. We don't know what sponsorships he'll have. Um, we know he has Hendrick cars right now, but you know we don't know if he'll take that with him, um, or what he'll really carry. But um, I don't know. What do you make of this whole situation? Because at the very beginning of this, he moved for the simple reason of and no, I did not see the sponsorship message actually. I have a lot of unopened channels in this server right now. Anyways, um, but from the very beginning, this situation has been very, very messy. Like,
Yeah,
one minute
yeah.
he's moving to RTM, he's racing for them, and we approved a waiver for him to keep his points. Now he's moving back to
Mhm.
GFM to a different number and starting uh, basically at a fresh slate next season. Um, what do you make of this whole thing?
Uh, I don't, I'm not trying to laugh, but like the whole situation is just, it's I don't even know what to say because, um, I mean, you requested a waiver, and then the waiver got approved, and then like literally a week later, you announce you're going right back to the team that you just left. Um, so I don't know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but I don't know. I don't know. It's really confusing to me. But and honestly, like I feel like his performance has gotten so much better since he's left GFM.
I
Um,
agree. I agree.
like he's won 2 races. Like we were talking about him missing the playoffs altogether. Like he was in such a big points gap, and now he's won 2 races since he's left. So I don't know. I don't really understand it at all, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely like he is moving, but it's just a little confusing to follow. And it's crazy too because he is doing a lot better in the 5 car. But it won't matter come next season because he'll be back with GFM. So yeah, there is that. And then before we get to the points, I'll just mention Lego. So Lego is moving to SSR next season. He will be taking my seat in the 44. Um, I just want to say right off the bat that Lego is probably the best candidate for this seat. Um, you know, I know that he probably wasn't too happy to leave BSR, but um, you know, I'm sure he's very excited to start with a new team and to have a new opportunity. I'm glad to see that the 44 will carry on with a new driver. Hopefully with a couple seasons to come. Hopefully he stays with the team. Um, I think if Lego is in the right equipment with the right team and the right um, mindset, I think he could go out and win a bunch of races. I think
Yeah,
running
I agree.
BSR and driving at the same time has taken a toll on him, and it shows out on track. Um, and I'm excited to see him take a new step, and kind of not really get into the leadership part of it next season and just focus on driving. Um, but I feel like he could definitely win a couple races as long as he's all in. And that's the part. Like with this, you have to be all in on the track, and I don't know if he was all in. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I'm definitely very excited. Hopefully he performs very well in the car, and we get to see some exciting stuff out of that team.
Yeah, and I will say, uh, obviously as a team owner, I I definitely see a lot of potential in Lego. Otherwise, I wouldn't have approached him about racing for our organization. I know he's capable of amazing things. if he has the right mindset and the right equipment, I know he can win races. And recently, he has shown a lot of speed. Like I said, ever since Kansas, like it seems like he has been showing really good speed. He was up front at Disney, almost won that race. He was up front at Kansas. I think he just his tires just got bad or something like that at the end of the Kansas race. And he showed good speed again at Talladega. So really, he's been picking it up just in time. He didn't have a great points day at Talladega. I'm sure we'll get into the points a little bit, but he seems to be in a good position to make the playoffs. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that team get a win here pretty soon.
Yeah, as I fully agree with that. Um, let's see. Speaking of the points, let's get into those points right now. I'll put them up on the screen. So we are in week 10, which is crazy to believe already. We are in week 10 now, and these are your points. So Land is continuing as the leader into week 10. Then Laner is right behind him in second. Currently have the most top fives and tied for top tens. So pretty impressive stat. Wendigo is third. I am fourth. Lego is fifth. Craig is sixth. Aiden seventh. Then we go below the cut line. Jax is eighth. Slater is ninth, and Icy is 10th. I'll go to you first because usually I start off looking at the points and what I see, but I'll let you start. What are you seeing? What do you like and what do you don't like?
I'm just honestly really proud of my team. I'm gonna brag on my team for a little bit because I'm just really proud of my team for keeping that top 5 streak going. Really like my mindset. The mindset within the team right now is if we could just keep that going through the end of the regular season. It's not really. I don't know if it's really possible to keep that going all season because it really is a long season.
Yeah.
But if we could just keep that going through the end of the regular season, like that would be a huge accomplishment for really the whole 22 group. Like that would really show a lot in our group. But getting away from that, Land seems pretty set in the regular season championship spot at this point. I mean, he's almost a whole race ahead of me. So he would kind of have to collapse in the next 2 races to lose that or miss a race or something drastic like that. So at this point, I see Land winning the regular season championship and getting the 15 playoff points or whatever comes along with that. But there is a pretty good battle from third on back. Like you and Wendigo are still in a points battle for third. And people don't realize like these positions really do matter because playoff points are given out to the top 5 in the standings at the end of the regular season. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's 15 for first, 10 for second, and then it goes down from there. But these positions really do matter a lot. So there is still a battle for third place. I feel like you and Wendigo could that could still change. And then Lego's pretty far back. Like I feel like Lego's best. I don't know. Lego could still get up to 4th, honestly. Yeah. He's not too far out. But yeah, really the points battle here is going to be Aiden and Jax. And if I remember correctly, Slater is going to be at Washington this week. So
yes, he will be.
He's gonna have to win a race. I mean, obviously. So if Slater ends up winning a race, it's going to throw a whole wrench into things. But for right now, the cutoff line, really, it's Jax, Aiden, and Lego. I mean, Lego's pretty far up there, but if Aiden or Jax have a really good race and Lego has a bad one, I mean, he's right on the cut line. So, yeah, it'll be a really interesting 2 weeks.
Yeah, and something that I'm watching too is like, I think Slater's in a must win. I don't think he can mathematically point his way in. If he's gonna keep missing races, he's not gonna make it in mathematically. Um, uh, you know, Icy, yeah, is down there in last, but he's in technically. Like I would, what he's like, fifth, kind of. Yeah, he's like fifth if you put the playoff rankings up there. Um, fifth, yeah, he's the last one on that bracket of locked in drivers, but that would put Slater in last in that predicament. Um, if I'm thinking of it correctly. Um, but he's at the bottom of the barrel, and I think he's got to win. Um, he's been very hit or miss, and I think that time for him to win is coming now. Like he's got to
Yep.
win in these last few
Got two
races.
chances.
Yeah, or he's done. And it'll be very interesting this weekend to see if he can perform because um, nobody has raced at this track. This is one of the final wild card races of the regular season, and we don't know what to expect. We don't know who's going to be up front, and we don't know who's going to be a contender. The sim says you, but I'm not trusting the sim until we get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think Slater definitely needs to have the mindset of winning this weekend. Um, Everybody else, I'm not really worried about with points. It's just the points are so close right now. It's really really going to be hard to tell. Like there's a 2 point difference um at the cut line for that last spot.
Yeah.
Um and there's 3 people above that cut line who haven't won a race yet. So I don't know. It's very very hard to tell who's going to make it, and I'm surprised that it's still this close. Um, After all these races, honestly. And another thing I will say too is like everybody's been very consistent in showing up, which is also a very nice thing. It's very very convenient to have everybody there because it wouldn't be as interesting if only like 6 or 7 drivers showed up a week. Then we wouldn't really have much to talk about. But Craigus and Aiden are tied for the points. Craigus is locked in, Aiden is not. And there's stuff going on everywhere. We talk about this every week, but once we get past Martinstown, we're not even going to be able to talk about this anymore. It's just going to be who makes it into the next round, who doesn't. So,
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, and if the points will look drastically different after this weekend. We'll talk about it when we preview the race later on. This race is going to be very, very challenging for everybody that's going to be there. And for those that haven't practiced, I'd be really worried.
Yeah.
We only get 15 minutes of practice, and it takes a minute and 40 seconds, a couple seconds plus that to complete a
Yeah.
lap. So if you show up almost time for qualifying, you're not gonna be at a good place with the car at all. It's a long race, and it's gonna be very challenging for everybody. So I wonder how that plays in, with the points and what will change. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. Is there anything that you pointed out though, in me talking with these points or no?
Well, I will say that there has been internal discussions with SSR and IC that if he does not feel like he is going to be able to attend a good amount of races in the playoffs, that he will probably withdraw from the playoffs. So
Okay.
we could have a decision coming within these next 2 weeks that could possibly move the cut line down where Jax would be in and Slater and Icy would be the first 2 out. Um, we're still not sure on that. There will be a decision coming before the playoffs start, obviously. But that would definitely shake things up a lot. I know Icy does not want to take up a playoff spot if he's not going to attend races, especially not to take away from somebody that will attend races. So um, this could still change, obviously, but as of right now, this is what the points look like. So um, yeah, I don't really have anything more to add to that. I think Slater's really the only one in a must win. And Jackson Aiden are just really going to need to be consistent, good point stays. And Lego just really needs to avoid any mistakes, really. Like, he needs to get stage points, but he really just needs to be consistent. Like, I don't think he's not in a safe spot, but he's also not in a terrible spot.
Yeah.
Wendigo's in a good spot, though. I will say that.
Wendigo's in a very good spot, and just in that time when you were mentioning that, I was looking at the playoff points because, we talked about this maybe last episode or the previous episode. Only the playoff points carry over. And right now, Lego and Aiden are my biggest concerns. Lego has 0 playoff points, and Aiden has 1.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly even if you make it through, you're going to be in a very, very deep hole.
Yeah.
And that I'm not really sure they can dig themselves out if they don't get a win, or at least win a stage. You could stay out at Washington this weekend and try and win a stage. If the Tires make it, good luck.
Yeah.
That is another thing we won't know. There's a lot of unknowns if the Tires can make it that long. Just if you're starting way in the back and you have to work your way to the front, what's going to happen to the tires? And everything that comes with the passing. There's going to be a lot of questions to be answered this weekend. But for somebody like Lego, for somebody like Aiden, if you can't win the race, bank up on stage points, or not stage points, but stage wins. If you can, if you get the opportunity, because that is going to be your best friend. Just trying to win as many stages as you can.
Yeah, for sure.
And you said what? There's only 2 weeks left. So,
Mm-hmm.
well,
Yeah,
is
well,
that
no,
including?
3 if you include this week. No, yeah, because we go to Chicagoland next week and then we go to Martinstown.
So that's
We got 3
six.
weeks.
That's 6 chances to get stage wins. You could bank six stage points or playoff points. Been a long day. You could bank 6 playoff points easily right there. So I think that's a conversation to be had at BSR as well, and with Aiden's team, because you know uh, Jax could pounce at any moment and rip Aiden right out and put him below the cutoff line. Slater only has 1 playoff point as well, so maybe all those guys really need to think about stage wins. Um, that's gonna be the most important part, but um, you gotta be in contention. You gotta be in contention for him. That's gonna be the most important part, is just being in contention for those stage wins, and making sure you're not too far back. But let's move on from the points. I feel like we've talked about the points enough now. We're going to move to the next segment of the show. So let's talk about the acceleration update. So this update um, has been being worked on, if that makes sense, for the last, what would you say, like couple weeks now.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. It's been worked on the last couple weeks now. Icy and Laner have been working on it, and we're gonna see, starting this weekend into the end of the season, a different uh, feel with the cars. The cars will take longer to get up to the maximum speed. Um, Before, on a restart, for example, you'd be able to shoot right up to 195. Now might take maybe 15 or 20 seconds to get up to that speed. Um, how is that going to affect the racing not only this weekend, but when we go to Martinstown, um, when we go to what's it called? When we go to Chicagoland next week, when we go to Nashville, like what are we expecting to see over these next couple weeks with that update?
Um, well, I don't really think that this will be in for Martinstown. Like, I kind of feel like Martinstown's its own beast, so
Okay.
we'll probably go back to the original acceleration for that race. But Chicagoland, it's kind of like different for every track. Like Chicagoland with the multi groove, I really think that this will help a lot. Um, just in getting multiple grooves going. Because Chicagoland is such like a wide open track. Like it's really, I don't know, like experimenting with it. It was really difficult to get the upper lanes even. Um, so this acceleration update should help a lot with that. And I mean, I'm really not sure what to expect from it on intermediate tracks. I guess we will just have to wait and see on that. But for this weekend specifically, I'm actually really excited for it. I think that I know people have been complaining a lot over the course of the season about how the runs are so drastic and you're just getting bumped from behind and all this stuff. And this is a perfect solution. You're not going to have people ramming into the back of you. You're going to have room to breathe and like it's really just going to produce good racing in my opinion. And yeah, we might see people like kind of build leads and gaps and stuff like that, but I mean, I don't know. It's just going to be up to the driver to learn the track and execute every corner perfectly.
Yeah, I definitely think from practicing, I've run a couple laps now with the new update. It's definitely different. It feels a lot different than it did before, but it feels a lot better with the cars. I mean, yeah, it feels realistic, but it also feels just more, um, like what's the right word? Like you can tell that the cars won't be, um, kind of like chaotic trying to get up to speed, and it takes a
Yeah.
little bit more time now. um and I don't know if that's going to help with the passing specifically this weekend. Maybe in general it might help with passing. But yeah, definitely people are going to have to get used to it. I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see.
I
I'm looking
think
forward to it, but go ahead.
I think it will help with passing just because the way you take a turn is going to be so important, especially at a road course with this package. Because if you take a turn one way and a driver takes a turn a different way, but the other driver takes a more optimal line, he might be carrying 4 or 5 mile per hour more into the turn than you are with this new acceleration update. So really, it's just going to be about taking the turn better than your opponents. If you take the turn better, you're going to carry more speed through the turn and you're going to make passes, um, which is how it should be. Honestly, I mean that's how it should be in real life too. Not going to get into dirty air topic, but I mean that's the way racing should be, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for this weekend in particular, it may not play as much of a role. Maybe on restarts and just, if you're hitting the corners correctly. But I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see. Oh, man. Um, what else do we have to talk about? I want to, before we preview Washington, I want to throw in something really quick. Um, this was not in the lineup, but this came out earlier this week. So Lego has been working on a season laps led through 10 out of 20 races. This is excluding Atlanta, unfortunately for Laner. Um, I know that this is all the way up until this past weekend at Talladega, um, but these are the laps led for the season. Um, I I'm only going to take it with a grain of salt because the laps led don't matter that much to me. But thank you to Lego for sitting down and taking the time to count each lap. I definitely feel his pain because I did it at one point and gave up because it was not worth my time at all. So yeah, but Land is the current laps led lead, the laps led um, kind of leader, I guess, for this chart. He has led 203 laps this season. Um, I am in second at 202, only one lap behind him. Wendigo is third at 123 laps. Um, Craigus is fourth with 99 laps. Lego is fifth with 70 laps. Laner is sixth with 50 laps. Again, this excludes Atlanta, which you probably led like 95% of the race. So you'd probably
Yeah.
be up in like maybe third or fourth. But Slater is seventh with 43 laps led. Aiden is eighth with 37 laps led. Jax is ninth with 10 laps led. Tag is 10th with 9 laps led. Icy is 11th with 7 laps led. And Bip is 12th with 1 lap led. Um, Nothing to talk about there. I just wanted to throw that in and thank Lego for going through that and sitting down to actually count the laps. Um, I'm surprised with you know the amount of races that I've been at. I haven't been at every race this season. That I'm only 1 lap behind Land. I pointed that out to you, Land.
Yeah.
I can't believe that
I'm
still.
I'm really like honestly the whole list is surprising to me because you haven't attended that much and you're in second. And then Slater, who has only attended 5 races all season, maybe even less, maybe like 4.
Yeah,
He's higher than people like Aiden and Jax, who have been at almost every race.
yeah,
Um, and I feel like Jax has been. I mean, I don't know. I guess he's not been leading laps, but like, it's really there's a lot of surprises in there to me.
yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely a good list though to build on because I was for sure certain that like a lot of these guys led more laps than I thought, and this goes to show that I am wrong. So, um, yeah, at least we have that list we can fall back on. But um, yeah, uh, we'll spend the next couple minutes talking about Washington because um, this is a fantasy track. This is not a real track. I want to make that clear. This is not a real track. It's just, a track that was created and we're running there this weekend. Um, what are you expecting to see? Um, I know that, we've gone through a lot of previews of these races, but I don't think we're expecting to see anything like what we're going to see this weekend. Um, It could be chaos. It could be just a long, stretched out race. Um, what do you think this race is going to bring?
I really have no idea what to expect. We have only raced at a few road courses in road car. Never done a street course ever. I don't know. I really don't even know what to expect. I'm really just hoping that we don't get to a point where we have to switch tracks. Because I feel like this season we have done such a good job at not having to switch tracks. We've only had to do it once,
Yeah.
with Iowa, and that was planned like a day in advance, so it wasn't like a spur of the moment type thing.
Right.
I'm really just hoping that this event can go off as planned, without having to switch tracks or anything like that. Even if it might be a little bit messy or chaotic, I'm just hoping we can kind of get through it. and I really feel like it can go off as planned. It's really going to be up to the drivers, and I hate to say it, but it like people are. I don't even hate to say it. People are just going to have to practice.
Yeah.
And like you said, you can't just show up for practice and qualifying and get 15 minutes of practice and expect to learn the track, because you're going to get like what, maybe 10 laps in.
Hmm.
This track is so like every turn is so unique, and with the new acceleration changes, like you are not going to learn this track in 10 laps. um, you probably need to honestly run like 50 laps to even get a good sense of where your car's at. um, so I would suggest anybody who hasn't, hop on tonight or race in the truck race tomorrow. Do whatever you need to. Talk to someone with commands. Get on the track and practice, because people showing up without any track time is going to be what ruins this event, in my opinion. We can totally race here, and it could totally be a good event. It's just going to be up to the drivers. Respecting the track, honestly, because there are sections of this track that we have no business making passes or going too wide at. So really, like, respect the track, respect your surroundings, and we should have a good event, in my opinion. But it's going to be up to the drivers.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I will point out is that don't expect there to be cautions this weekend. Um, Things, whether people like it or not, are gonna get stretched out. I just have a feeling. I know that people are gonna make mistakes because these corners are sharp. They don't have, like little sections where they're like soft. If you hit that, you're gonna go off of the turn. Um, you're gonna go into a runoff area if you don't wreck yourself. But this race is gonna get very, very stretched out. Um, and I think like nobody's gonna master this track. Nobody can master this track this weekend. But what you can do is learn from it and learn about what the track gives you and what you can take away, and how you can prepare yourself better for it. I would recommend strongly people participate in the truck race tomorrow. Um, and I'll go over the events for the weekend in a minute, but I would recommend for extra track time and just for practice. If you know you won't be able to get much practice either tonight or Saturday, use tomorrow's truck race as practice. If you can field a truck, use tomorrow as extra practice. I um, would very strongly recommend that.
Hmm.
Just very quickly going over the schedule for the weekend. Um, so, like I said, the truck race is tomorrow. It's 25 laps. Stages are 7, 7, and 11. First and second stage is the same amount of laps, and then the last stage is 4 laps longer. Practice kicks off at 7, qualifying 7:15, and the green flag is at 7:30. Um, Cup race Saturday. Little bit of different times. Little longer race. Stages are 10, 10, and 18, 38 laps. Um, Again, first and second stage are the same amount of laps. Second stage or third stage, sorry. Third stage is 8 laps longer. Practice actually starts at 6:30, so make sure you know practice starts at 6:30, not at 7. Qualifying is at 6:45 and the green flag is at 7. Just emphasizing that because they're usually we're on the same time every week, but um
Yeah.
I yeah, I'm honestly a little worried just for people like not being prepared for the race. Um Even if you practice so much, I feel like everybody's going to make a mistake at least once this weekend. They might embarrass themselves at least
Yeah.
at least once this weekend. I think it's going to happen.
And really, the thing is there is no way to practice for a track like this with other cars on it. You
Yeah.
can do as many laps as you want by yourself, but put 8 other cars out there and it's totally different.
Yep.
Because the line that you've been practicing all by yourself, you might not be able to take that line. So that's why really if you can attend the truck race, I would highly recommend it because this track is going to be so much different with cars on it. And when you're racing around people, it's going to be a lot different. So um, solo practice will only do you so much. You're really not going to know what you have until you get out there with other cars.
Do we know if we're doing double file or single file? It's obviously going to be a double file start, but
I, I was actually thinking about, I mean, maybe making it a single file start for this event because I feel like going into that tight turn one double file might just make a caution on lap one.
yeah, it's going to be a mess.
So yeah, I was kind of thinking about changing the spawns to be single file.
Yeah. I would recommend single file starts. I would recommend, I think it's probably just the safer option and to avoid pileups. Because that's the way it'll happen is if you put people double file at a track they're not prepared to run on, they're gonna run into each other.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm really really excited though. Like racing lines and strategies and all that stuff aside, I'm really really excited to try this track out this weekend. I'm hoping that it's not a disappointment. It almost feels like Chicago, like the inaugural Chicago race. There's a lot of excitement around it and a lot of stuff to be
Yeah.
excited for. Um, and it's a good opportunity to, run a street race um, and to just throw the cars on a different type of track. I think it'll be very exciting to see. Um, I will say one more thing. Pit Road is after the start finish line this weekend. And that is something usually we're not used to seeing or not used to, like we're not used to that. We're always used to it being before the start finish line. Um, I think drivers need to get used to that too because you're going to complete the lap and then decide if you want to pit or not. You can't come in um, like let's say pits closed, two to go on the stage. If you cross and there's three to go, you have to decide whether to pit then and there, or you're staying out. Um, that those types of decisions are going to be different this weekend, and it'll be interesting to see just what the drivers come up with in terms of how fast the tires wear and what kind of decisions they'll make when it comes to pitting. Oh
Yeah,
man,
for sure.
is there anything else you want to talk about Washington Street Course related?
I mean, no, I definitely agree with what you said. I mean, this race isn't a crown jewel, but it does feel like a big event. Like you can feel the excitement around it, and everybody wants to win this race. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And who knows, maybe if this works out, maybe next season we could explore some other street courses. So it definitely opens the possibilities up for this league as a whole if this event is successful. I don't know if I would want to go back to Washington next season, just because there's so many cities or fictional street courses that we could go to that um, I would like to rotate a street course every season. So if this event goes good, it really opens up a lot of possibilities.
Chicago is fun. I will say that. I've run laps at Chicago. I wouldn't be opposed to having a race there.
Yeah, that could be a maybe a replacement track if we have to.
Yeah. I think that's definitely an option. Um, I feel like New York, whatever track you come up with for New York would also be a good edition as well.
Yeah.
Um, okay, all right. Let's move on. Let's rate the race, and then we will wrap things up here on the money stop. It's getting late on the East Coast. It's 10:30, so gotta kind of wrap things up. About an hour and 20 minutes into the episode, anyway. So, all right. So, should we rate? Let's just rate Talladega because Disney I can't really put a rating on, and it's
Yeah.
been a couple weeks now, so um let's rate Talladega. I'll start. I'm gonna give it. I would say I'm gonna give it a 75. I think it was a good race. Again, the whole thing with um, the second line dilemma. It was complicated, but um, nothing really you can do. Um, I do think that it was a very successful event in terms of just what it was intended for. But I really, really enjoyed the race, and it was a very good event overall. And can't wait to be back next season. Hopefully, it'll stick around.
Yeah, I would give it a I was going to say 75 or 80. I feel like with this being the Road Car 500 though, it definitely ups my score a lot. If you didn't have the Road Car 500 branding on it, I might give it a different score, but just the event as a whole, the prestige of the event and the history behind it, it it's really hard to not give it a good score. And the racing was pretty good. And we had a good finish. I mean, we were 3 wide coming to the checkers, so yeah, I'd give it a 75%.
Yeah, I would say it was a very good weekend for racing, and the Chicago Street Course in real life was this past weekend. Um, Very frustrating race overall for me. Um, I don't understand, from start to finish, like just NASCAR's decisions on some of like just I don't understand some of the things that they were deciding about. When the rain started and the stuff with the standing water, like are they there to race or
Yeah.
not with the rain tires? And then Martin got taken out. Um, Christopher Bell got taken out with him, and he was on the move late in the race. It was a time to be very it was a very sad time to be a JGR fan um, on Sunday. And Denny had issues. Gibbs was like here, and then he fell back, and then he was here, and then fell back, and then yeah, it just was not a good race for JGR. But um, uh, I was thinking this too. I think it would have been funny if Joey Hand won the race. I will say, it would have been
Yeah.
so funny if Joey Hand won the race. I was low key rooting for him, but
I
um,
That would be so crazy. Did he start last year? I was gonna say like that would be so crazy for like two first time people to win at Chicago 2 years in
yeah,
a row. Um, but yeah, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole with this. But I will say, why are we starting the race at like 4 o'clock in the evening whenever we have a history of rain and this track does not have lights?
yep.
Like, okay, this should be a 12:30 or 1 o'clock start time. No excuse at all.
I think part of that has to do with the networks and what the networks want, unfortunately. That part I would understand, but like NASCAR has to have some say in that, and then, like they
Also,
just
like the city of Chicago, right? You would think they don't want the race to get postponed because that
yeah.
means the streets are going to be closed for another day. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. It's a whole mess.
Yeah, but I mean, Alex Bowman backed into his win again. So, I don't know. Um,
He does it. That's what he does, man.
yep, that's what he does best. And now he's locked in. I think he's a first round exit easily, second round, but like I'm not, I'm not and now I'm getting cooked in the chat. All right, I'm gonna stop. Okay, all right. Um let's wrap things up. Let's wrap things up. Um, so a lot to expect this weekend as the RoMuscle Truck and Cup Series heads to the streets of Washington D.C. and will race through Capitol Hill and the White House. Um, it's going to be very interesting to see um, a race that none of our drivers have taken on before. So I would just say tune in. You got nothing better to do. Tune in because it's going to be a very interesting race. And definitely um,
Yeah.
everybody's gonna be struggling to to figure out where their car stands this weekend. But um, tune in
Should we give
to the next.
picks?
What's that?
Should we give like race picks for Washington?
See, I was gonna do that, but then I was like, is it worth making picks for? Because
Yeah, it's kind of
like,
anybody's event.
um, hmm,
I mean, you could
uh,
make a case for anybody this weekend, honestly, but
here's my thing. The last road course we went to, Land won. He swept the weekend, I believe. Right? Yeah, he swept the weekend. Um, maybe he does it again this weekend. I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. Um, you know what, Laner? I'll let you go first, and then I'll give my pick.
okay. I'm going to. This might surprise some people, but I'm gonna pick Lego to win this weekend.
Oh,
I know
okay.
he's been practicing a lot, and I feel like he's really hungry for a win right now. Um, so I could see it happening if he qualifies good, and I really feel like this race is track position is going to be important. And if Lego can qualify good, which I think he can with how much he's been practicing, I feel like he will stay up front all day, and maybe he plays some strategy and he can get a win.
Okay. Wow. I was not expecting that pick, honestly. Um, I am gonna go with you, Laner. Um, I'm gonna stick with the sim. I honestly think that there will be a lot of different drivers leading this weekend, um, and I think that there's gonna be a lot of passing for the lead. I don't think the leader's gonna fully pull away. Um, the leader might pull away and then might crash, might pull away, make a mistake going on to pit road. Anything could happen. Um, but I think in the end, I think you're going to win. I have a feeling. That's all. But and the sim predicted it. And the sim's been pretty accurate, I would say.
And I did make this track from scratch, so I do know it pretty well.
True, true. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Oh man, what an eventful episode this has been. An hour and 30 minutes already. But again, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Tune in to the Washington Street Course race this weekend. It's going to be very interesting to see these drivers take on these streets of Washington, and yeah, we'll have another action-packed episode for you next week. Um, uh, sorry to land, I didn't pick you, but I can't pick you every week, man. Um, yeah, but tune in again. Like I said, next week we'll wrap things up from the Washington Street Course, and we're gonna be another week closer to setting this playoff field. So tune in, and we'll have more for you soon. Have a great night, everybody, and take care. We'll see you after Washington.
See you guys.